Alright, here we go. This is the fourth and hopefully final video for the NASA Hunch door left. So we left off, we had just we'd done the radius over here and the 256 STI holes. So now we're going to work on this angled face and the holes and then tab it off. So right now we have material from here all the way back. So first thing I'm going to do is just bring this angled face down, then we'll start working on the pocket and stuff. So I'm going to need a plane for that angled face. So planes, actually I'll make a new toolpath group. Minimize these ones. Right click, groups, new toolpath group. I'll say angled face, and then I'll make a plane from solid face. Click that guy right there, and then remember I want my X pointing to the right, so just like that. So now go to my B0C0, make that the current plane, and then I can click on my new plane, click the mouse pointer, and then snap to that origin point. See the little origin icon pop up before I click? There we go, now we're in the right spot. And then I'm going to just go ahead and I'll rename this plane angled face. Make it current. I'm going to go ahead and hit manual 0. Okay, we know about that. Alright. So now if I do top, I do front. So now my angled face is horizontal. My part's rotated. I'm ready to go. So go back to my planes and make the B0C0 plane the WCS plane, and then angled face is the C and the T, and I'm ready to make some toolpaths. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Go back to planes real quick. Since I did a right click top, I think it somehow So again, B0C0 is the WCS plane, angled face is the C and the T plane. Alright, and then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across this surface with the 1/2" end mill, and then this, what we have to watch out, this surface right here is back to flat. Alright, as well as this surface here and stuff. So so what I'll do is I'm going to draw a line. So wireframe line. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to drag it up this way. It's not, it doesn't really matter. Just kind of want to go past the part a little bit. Alright, so that's gonna be the, I'm gonna do a contour, so that's gonna be my line for the contour. So, and then just remember that I'm gonna do it again just to show you that when you draw the line, start right there. So if you get close to see the perpendicular little icon popping up next to my mouse pointer, that's what we want. That's how we know we're drawing the straight line. So it'll do that automatically for you. Okay, check, just like that. So now I'll make my contour. So toolpath, contour. I'm going to use wireframe single and choose that one. Green check. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch flat end mill. Not 100, 1000. Alright. And then probably go a little faster here. Okay. Looks good. Cut parameters is going to be where. No depth cuts, lead in, lead out. So that is still very large lead in, lead out. So remember, it always goes off of the diameter of the tool. So before we were using the corner rounder, and it's got a real small 60 thousandths tip. So the lead in, lead out's based on that diameter. So now we're basing it on our 1/2 inch end mill. So 172% is going to be a huge lead in, lead out. So we don't really want that. So we're going to go back to our normal 40, 40, 60. Just like that. Hit the double right arrows to make the lead out be the same as the lead in. We're going to do some multi passes. It's going to be 18 passes at 100 thousandths and 1 spring pass. Alright, and our linking parameters is there. Top of stock should be here. V-plane's good, retract's good. And coolant should be on. Okay, green check. And let's see. Yeah. Alright. And then we just got to finish this last little part here of the angled face, since that one's angled and this one's flat. So I'm going to go ahead and just create another contour. This time I'm going to choose solids, and I'm going to choose a single edge. I'm going to pick that edge right there and check. Same tool, same speed and feed. All this is the same. We're gonna have to change the lead in, lead out, right? So there's still, in this area, there's still some uncut material, and so if we do a lead in, lead out that's too small, it's gonna plunge into the material that's still there. So I'm gonna change this to 75. Just the lead in, not the lead out. Lead out is fine. So multi passes, we're not going to need 18. I think it's like 6. And we don't really need a spring pass. Do a spring pass on the other one because it's got that transition right there. So I just wanted to make that nice and clean. Alright, so no spring pass for that one. I think on the cut parameters we probably want to go a little bit past that edge, just so we can come back later and get a clean edge. So I'll go ahead and I'll go on the stock to leave on walls, I'll go -0.2. Okay, green check. Alright, and there's my passes. Looks good. You can see that lead in, lead out comes a little further away. More worried about these passes down in here. So, alright, so that's good for that. Let's go ahead and save it for now. On second thought, I'm going to go ahead and add a finish pass to the floor on here so we get a nice smooth angled face. So I'm going to go back into the toolpath parameters, and I'm going to say 0.25 here. You need a little difference between your top of stock and your depth in order for the depth cuts to work. So I'm going to put 250 in the top of stock, and then I'm going to go to depth cuts, activate depth cuts, So I'm going to do 1, finish at 10 thousandths, and then whatever in here, 100 thousandths is good. All right, green check that, and now you see, get that second pass there to make the floor nice and smooth. So go ahead and do the same thing to this other one. There we go. Alright, so go ahead and hide those toolpaths there. Minimize that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to create another toolpath. I'm going to call this one Pocket and Holes. So now we're going to start working on the pocket. So we're going to go back to the flat plane, right? Because this pocket is flat. It's just this surface that's angled. Okay. So that is going to be B90C180, just like that. That should get our C and our T. WCS again remains on the B0C0. So now, nope, sorry, is that? That's not what we want, is it? No, we want B90C270. The Z was pointing the wrong way. So there we go, this is the one we want. So B90C270 gets the C and the T. And now we'll go ahead and we'll start on this pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a dynamic. I'm going to leave some material on the floor and on the walls, and then I'll come back and I'll finish the floor, then we'll finish the walls. So start that. So dynamic, and then machining region. Now this is going to be a little bit different, right? Because we can't, there's no like top contour that we can do as a complete loop. We can use these edges right here at the top of the fillet, but Mastercam won't recognize that as a loop going all the way around. So we have to go single edge, and then we can choose the first edge like that, right? And then if you look at the arrows, you can click on the arrow in the direction you want to go, and that's going to link the edges. So you can go like that. Alright, and then you can also use the arrows over here. So this button here, it's going to move you, it's going to keep selecting this red arrow. Okay, so if that's the direction you want to go, you don't have to sit there and click the arrow a bunch of times. You can click this button. So, and just watch it kind of go around. Keeps going the way we want, so that's good. Alright, now we're almost there, but we got to make sure that the red arrow gets to the green arrow. Right, so we got, don't miss that last edge. Okay, so one more time. And now we've met up, right? Now the red arrow, if we click it again, is going to go somewhere we don't want it to go. So right there gives us the walls of the pocket. So green check that. Our machining region is going to be stay inside, and there's no avoidance regions. So green check that. Tool is going to be our 3/8 bull end mill with the 30 thousandths radius. Okay, because that's what the radius down in the bottom there, that's what that is. That's the one. So 3/8 bull, 30 thou radius. Alright, so I'm going to bump this up. Just like that. Not really plunging with this tool, but alright, and then let's see, cut parameters. I'm going to leave 5 thousandths on the wall and 5 thousandths on the floor. Okay, check your numbers here. The back feed rate. You want that to. I think Mastercam default is 100, so that's gonna go a little slower. So 400 is better. This is for when the dynamic finishes its cut and it kind of goes back to start another cut. That's what that feed rate's for. Then I usually, this minimum toolpath radius, I'm going to go ahead and change that to 2. Looks like 2.5 is the lowest, but I put in 2, it just changes it to 2.5. So that's fine. Alright, so there's that. We don't need corner pretreatment or depth cuts or breakthrough. So linking parameters is going to be, alright, so depth should be right there, minus 0.625. Okay. Finish motion is good. Arc filter tolerance, either set yours like this. This helps to kind of reduce the code. If you use my config file, then you should have this, but if not, you can change it. Lanes are good. Coolant's on. Green check. Okay, there's that. Alright, so that looks a little tight. We could probably make a bigger cut on that. Lead in is not too bad, but I'm going to go back here into the parameters and I'm just going to make my step over a little bit bigger here. So 15%. Green check. Let it regenerate. Alright, yeah, it's a little better there. Alright, and then, so we left 5 on the walls and the floor. So now I'm going to come back, I'm going to just copy this toolpath down. Copy after, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to change the step over to 40%, and I'm going to say leave 0 on the floors. I'm still going to leave 5 on the walls because I'm going to come back and do a finish pass contour with cutter comp for the walls. Alright, so you can check that. Lines kind of overlapping there. Get a nice finish on the floor there. Alright, drag my red arrow down to the bottom. Otherwise, when I create my next toolpath, it's going to put them in between these two, and we don't want that. So make sure your red triangle is in the right place. And I'm going to go ahead and hide those toolpaths, and then I'm going to do a contour. Choose last. Oh man. Let's see. Alright, well, just have to select it again. There we go. Just like that. Green check. Tool is going to be the same, 3/8. Parameters going to be where, stock to leave on walls. See that minus 0.2 is still left from when we did the angled face, so you got to watch out for that. So change that back to 0. Lead in, lead out. Go ahead and put this back to 40. Multi passes. I'm going to do 1 finish pass. 1 spring pass. Alright, linking parameters. So we need that down there. Minus 0.625. Top of stock. Right there. Everything else is fine. Green check. Alright, so that finishes the walls except for these little corners, because the radius is smaller than the radius of the 3/8 end mill. So it's a radius of 60. So 30 there, 60 there. So I'm just going to save it real quick. So what we're going to do is we'll grab another contour, and last selection, right? So it grabs that last thing. Now we're going to do a remachine, right? So Mastercam is going to calculate which areas the 3/8 couldn't reach the wall, and we're going to use a smaller tool, and so Mastercam is going to use that, calculate where the larger tool couldn't get to, and use the smaller tool to get to that if it can. So you can check there. So you don't need to select just the geometry that you think needs to be cut. Mastercam will figure that out for you. So for the tool, we're going to use the tool number 8, the 3/16 bull. Let's see, I'll go 250 here. Alright, everything else is fine. So cut parameters is going to be where, and the contour type is going to be remachining. The roughing tool is 375. Clearance, I'll say 5%. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and do depth cuts. I'll say 30 thousandths. And lead in, lead out, I want that to be pretty small. I'm going to say 10%. Just trying to clean up the corners so we don't need big lead-ins, and don't really need multi-passes. Alright, so our depth is going to be here. And then I'll usually, yeah, that's good. So top of stock, say that's up here. So with the depth cuts, Mastercam is going to use the top of stock to figure out, right? So if you leave that a big number, it's going to cut air. Alright, so feed plane is good. Just retract it. Alright. Coolant should be on. Check. And so there we go. So we can see that it's just kind of grabbing those corners where the radius was smaller than the 3/16. 3/8 end mills radius, which is 3/16. Alright, so yeah, that was a 188 diameter, 94 radius, so 3/16 takes care of that, and a couple others. Now, these ones over here are actually even a little bit smaller. Alright, so smaller tool even for those two corners. So again, I'm going to go ahead and copy this toolpath down. So copy after, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to choose, it's tool 22 1/16 ball end mill. Slow. Alright. And cut parameters. So now my roughing tool is going to be 0.1875. Okay. My depth cuts, change it to 15 thousandths. Everything should be the same for linking and all that, so green check. So if I hide that toolpath and hide that toolpath, so now I just got those two corners right there. Alright, so save that, move my arrow down to the bottom, and ready for the next thing. Alright, so one more thing we need the 3/8 bullnose for is this surface right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring my triangle back up here. Actually, sorry, one more. Just to avoid the tool change. So I'm going to put it at the end of the 3/8 bullnose mill. Since we chose in our remachining, since we chose the roughing tool rather than the previous operation, then we can put those toolpaths anywhere we want, because it's not looking at the previous operation to figure out the geometry. It's just calculating it based on the tool. So we're good there. So for here, I'm going to do another contour. Now we can't follow this contour here because the radius here doesn't go all the way vertical, right? So it won't give us the right path if we follow that up there. So one way to kind of trick it is we use the geometry at the bottom. Alright, and then in our cut parameters we modify it to move out. Right, we put a negative number in the stock to leave on walls. So single edges, or actually we can do a partial loop. We're going to start right here, and we're going to end right there. Right, so that's what the partial loop does. You tell it where to start, you tell it where to end, and it figures out in between. Alright, so green check that, and our tool is going to be the tool number 7, 3/8 bullnose. Alright, cut parameter is going to be where, contour type is 2D, stock to leave on walls. Alright, so that's going to be minus 0.031. Alright, depth cuts we don't need. Alright, lead in, lead out. I'm going to put back to my normal 40-40, 60. Now, since we chose the geometry here on the floor, and not up here, so this geometry here doesn't go as far around the corner as what we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend the start of the contour about 10%, and so what that'll do is that'll extend this out and complete that corner. Alright, so there's that. Linking parameters. Alright, it's there. Should be good. Alright, so if we do a little back plot, we can kind of see. A little bit more on that. Let's see. Let's go back here. Let's go C25. See the tools going around the right place. Comes right there and gets the whole surface. So we're clean. Green check that. Bring my arrow back down. Minimize my toolpaths. Save real quick. So, last thing we're going to do before we start drilling holes is to take care of this flat surface where these holes start from. So, I'll go ahead and do a contour. So, we got to remember we still got stock here all the way up and going across here. So normally I would choose the geometry going this direction for climb milling, but I don't want to plunge down into the material over here. So this time I'm going to choose the opposite. I'm going to start from outside the part and move in. So I'm going to choose, since this is not one single edge that goes all the way across, it's like two. So I'm going to just choose the single edges here, and then I'm going to choose this one. And I can either click on the red arrow, but you have to be careful, you don't want to, the blue one is going to take you around this radius, so the red one is going to take you straight. So make sure if you click on the red one that it is the red one, or you could use the arrow over here. So just like that. So that's what I want, that straight edge right there. So green check that. Tool is going to be tool number 1, back to a flat end mill. So cut parameters. Now I got to change my compensation direction to the right, because the tool is going to be on the right side. Otherwise I'm going to gouge into this angled face. Alright, so my compensation direction needs to be right. Stock to leave on walls is going to be 0. I'm going to go ahead and activate depth cuts. 0.1 with a finish of 5/1000ths. Lead in, lead out. I don't want to do the lead in, lead out that way. Just going to adjust the start of the contour. Let's say just 100%. Alright, let's see, linking parameters. So my depth is right there from the geometry I selected. Top of stock is 0.25. So that's all good. Let's see what we got. Okay. Right there. So yeah, it's starting over there off of the part. Comes in. Right there. Probably gonna add one more pass, again just to clear out some space there for when we tab off the part. So I'm gonna just take this toolpath and copy after, and all I gotta do is go in there into cut parameters, and I'm gonna say leave 100,000 on the wall, which is going to move it towards the vise from this edge, because I've chosen right compensation. Right, so green check. So now we got that. So that's going to, oops, there we go. That's going to get us like that. So, gives us some room here to get our tool in for the tabbing and this surface here. Alright, drag my arrow back down, save. Alright, let's go ahead and drill these holes. First I'm going to take a look at the drawing. So this hole here is 221 through with the 284 countersink. Our spot drill is only 1/4 inch, so we'll end up hitting that with the chamfer mill when we chamfer all the other edges. No big deal. And then these two holes here, they actually have a 100-degree countersink. So that's a tool that we purchased. So we have that. So the spot drill is not going to make that countersink because the spot drill is 90 degrees and these are 100 degrees. So, all right. So tool paths, drill. We'll start with this one first. Green check. Tool's going to be my 1/4 inch spot drill, not the chamfer mill, but the spot drill. Alright, I'll do a peck drill on this one, 50 thousandths. Everything else should be 0 on here. Alright, let's see. Linking parameters. Top of stock is 1155. So here you might want to go with an incremental. And then I'll go minus 0.1. So incremental from the geometry at a depth of 100. Check. Oh no, we need to change the retract is where the tool starts drilling from. So let's see. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and spot these two holes. Before we do that, I want to look at the drawing real quick. So those are 100-degree countersink, but it says the diameter is 285. If we go back to the model, analyze entity, it's 2785 in the model. So we just want to be conscious of that. Sometimes that happens, so normally you just kind of let them know the model doesn't match the print. We still have to go off the print though, because the print is the overriding document. So I'm going to go ahead and do another drill tool path and click these two holes here and check. Right now we're just spotting those, so same thing, incremental minus 0.1 on the linking. Green check. Okay, so that's good right there.